Carl Jung documented a psychological pattern so disturbing that he called it among the most challenging transformations he had ever witnessed in human nature. Across multiple cases, he observed patients, especially empaths, who seemed gentle and broken until something inside them snapped. These were individuals who embodied Jung's concept of shadow integration, and their awakening not only changed their lives, but revolutionized how we understand human psychology. Jung spent decades studying what mirrored the principles of shadow work in empathic individuals, and his discoveries continue to terrify psychologists to this day. The kindest people, Jung realized, aren't weak, they are weapons waiting to be forged. At his Zurich clinic, patient after patient arrived with the same wounds, empaths who had been systematically destroyed by those who claimed to love them. They came carrying bruises they excused, depression they blamed on themselves, and a universal tendency to apologize for existing. These individuals had spent their lives absorbing everyone else's pain: alcoholic parents' rage, spouses' betrayals, family dysfunction. They were what Jung described as emotional shock absorbers, repositories for collective psychological suffering. But what shook him was that these empaths didn't just endure abuse, they systematized it. When Jung asked them to describe their relationships, he expected fragmented accounts of damage. Instead, he found meticulous psychological records. They had studied every abuser's triggers, insecurities, and fears. Their minds functioned not as diaries of pain, but as strategist war rooms, waiting for a moment of activation. These empaths weren't broken victims. They were hidden psychological geniuses. Their gift was emotional archaeology. By observing microexpressions and subtle shifts, they could excavate the deepest wounds in others. Jung tested this by introducing colleagues to his patients without background information. Within minutes, they could identify childhood traumas, relationship dynamics, and insecurities with astonishing accuracy. They weren't psychic. They were paying attention at a level most people never reach. What others dismissed as intuition was in truth data collection. These empaths processed emotional information with extraordinary speed and precision, their brains wired for pattern recognition. Yet society taught them their gift was a curse. Each time they spoke the truth, others told them they were too sensitive or overreacting. So they silenced themselves, doubted their perceptions, and apologized for what they saw too clearly. But truth doesn't vanish when suppressed. It accumulates, and in these individuals, it built silently for decades. Jung realized they weren't experiencing nervous breakdowns but breakthroughs. Transformation came suddenly, often triggered by betrayal. The most devastating kind was betrayal by someone they had fully trusted and protected. They saw the signs all along but ignored them, blaming themselves and trying harder to be perfect. Then came the moment Jung called the clarity event. Their pattern recognition overwhelmed their need to believe in others, and they awakened. Instead of collapsing in emotional chaos, they became unnaturally calm. This was shadow integration, the merging of analytical brilliance with emotional intelligence. They didn't lash out or seek revenge. They spoke truth with surgical precision, revealing years of observation without anger. Only clarity. It wasn't destruction but exposure, and it left their abusers defenseless. Once integrated, these empaths were permanently changed. They no longer returned to people-pleasing, apologizing, or doubting themselves. They became selectively empathetic, deeply caring but strategically protective of where their energy flowed. Those who once manipulated them now felt nervous in their presence, sensing an unshakable strength. Manipulators instinctively avoided them, much like predators avoiding sunlight. Jung wrote that awakened empaths didn't need to announce their power, because others could feel it in their bones. What disturbed him most was that he saw in them a mirror of his own psychological development. Jung himself, a highly sensitive individual, recognized the empath's painful journey and its transformative potential. He followed these integrated empaths for years, noting how their lives flourished. Their businesses thrived because they could perceive clients' needs unspoken. Their relationships became healthy because they recognized predators immediately. Their decisions sharpened because they trusted their inner intelligence absolutely. Jung realized they had not lost empathy, they had perfected it. This gave them the ability to manipulate others as easily as they had once been manipulated. But what amazed him was that they chose restraint. They used their power not for destruction, but for liberation. They became what he called integrated empaths, beings with both deep sensitivity and the wisdom of choice. Their transformations didn't just reshape themselves. They disrupted entire family systems. Dysfunction could no longer rely on them as shock absorbers. Manipulators lost their psychological weapons. The healthy grew stronger, while the toxic revealed themselves in desperation. This created what Jung described as the empath's mirror effect. The awakened empath no longer confronts dysfunction. Their very presence reflects it back with clarity. Manipulators feel exposed around them, while authentic individuals feel safe. Some became so skilled that their diagnostic accuracy in therapy surpassed Jung's own. He recognized this as both a gift and a danger. Without ethical grounding, integrated empaths could become master manipulators. To protect against this, he developed an ethical integration model, observing how most used their abilities for healing, not harm. The process followed stages. Recognition. Empaths saw their shadow not as weakness but as hidden strength. Integration. They merged light and dark into the complete self, capable of both gentleness and ruthless precision. Application. They became psychological architects, immune to manipulation, and able to shape systems with insight. And finally, service. They shared their wisdom, guiding other empaths toward resilience. Jung came to see them not as mentally ill, but as evolutionarily advanced, human templates for the next step in consciousness. People who could feel everything without being destroyed by it, see everything without cynicism, and love deeply without losing themselves. In his final notes, Jung concluded that the empath's journey is not from sensitivity to numbness, but from unconscious absorption to conscious choice. They did not become less empathetic, but perfectly empathetic. He warned future psychologists never to underestimate those who trust their perceptions completely, for in them lies psychology's most powerful evolution, the awakened empath, who no longer doubts what they see and feel, and whose presence alone forces the world to transform.